Welcome to Coach Business, the podcast. I'm your host and sometimes your coach, Caryn Gillen. And today we have a guest. QUÄY.jo is here from the Art of Online Business. You may have listened to his podcast or you may have heard me over on his podcast. I recommend you go subscribe if you want to know anything about Facebook ads done well, done correctly, and done without throwing too much of your money away. Yeah?
Absolutely. I'm going to lower my voice because I feel like we're on Smooth 95 FM.
Oh, dang. It's my voice again. I know. I got to get my meditation recording business going.
Seriously, though, your presence is so calming. But yeah, I'm QUAY.jo, and we're about to have a good conversation around Facebook and Instagram ads. It's just my heart that everyone not miss the opportunity to grow their business super profitably with Facebook and Instagram ads, but be able to read the signs right when they start and do the correct things so that it's not a bad experience that causes them to lose money and then turn their backs on ads.
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, you might be talking to me, just so you know.
Oh, okay. Well, we can have that conversation right now here too.
I did an experiment at one point. I hired a big time like Facebook ads management company with the high fee and
Uh,
the big ad spend. And I did the 3-month commitment. And I think it took me about a year to get all those people off of my list after nobody bought anything.
and
And
before we hit record, you shared that something similar is going on for a lot of people that you know and coach.
yeah. So here's like my curiosity. For myself, I'm headed in the direction of definitely like I want to do some podcast awareness ads at some point. Like I want to start dabbling probably in Q2 this year.
Hmm.
And so I'll come to you when I'm ready to start dabbling and you can tell me where to start.
You can pick my brain in the DMs.
But what I notice, I have a lot of folks coming to me who are coaches who maybe a year ago, maybe 3 years ago got one ad going to a freebie to something and they just keep it going and it's on like a daily spend and they're building lists. A lot of them have lists that are way larger than mine. But it doesn't seem like those folks are actually buying. And I just want to talk about like what is the value of a list of people we pay to have who don't buy or not? Like how do we help people think about this in a way that it improves profitability and impact versus just growing a list?
Yeah. Very, very important. If I grow a list and nobody buys, what is the point? Okay, so this is going to be a really basic question. Of the folks that you're thinking of, how many of them have an offer? We should start there.
Yeah. Many of these folks have one-on-one coaching.
Okay.
Some of them have a program and are a little bit more established, but all of that includes coaching for sure. And a lot of them are one-on-one coaches.
Because when I hear, and my heart goes out to anyone who's in the situation, that we're building a list and they're not buying, I think in funnels, right, Karen? So ads are at the top, then the next conversion point in the funnel is the landing page. And then we have the lead magnet itself, the consumption of that lead magnet, and then that follow-up email nurture sequence. And I wonder what is out of alignment? Because these coaches, I'm assuming they are making money already, serving the people who they're meant to serve with their gifts and passions, right?
Sometimes some of them are making money, some of them
Okay.
aren't.
All right. So assuming that they know what they're here to serve for and they're getting results for folks, then if somebody's coming onto their list not buying, I wonder, did that person was that person targeted or are they using the correct targeting with ads, the coach?
Mm-hmm.
One, and you can stop me and engage in whatever part of this conversation you want, but like my mind says, okay, is the targeting okay? Maybe if the cost per lead to get somebody on their email list is super low, I wonder, was the language too broad? Was the targeting too broad? Is the lead magnet possibly a good lead magnet? yes, because it's attracting people, but how well aligned is the lead magnet with their paid offer, so to speak?
Right.
Right. You know, I'm a dog walker and I have a lead magnet about how to groom your cat. Okay. And then the targeting's off because it's bringing in cat lovers and they don't want anything, they don't have dogs. And so then
Yeah.
my business isn't working. This is an extreme example, and I doubt
Right.
anybody is that extreme, but we get the point. Um, and then I also wonder too, how's their email sequence doing? Their follow-up email sequence. You're, I'm sure, helping a lot of people with this right now with your membership, working on the basics of an email sequence. Like, when do you actually introduce your offers to someone in the email sequence? What do you talk about in the email sequence? To have a case
Right.
study or not have a case study? Okay,
Hmm.
I said a lot of different things. Where do you want to take this conversation?
There's two places that I think would be really valuable.
Mm.
One is your market, because I think a lot of times these ads got started pretty early on in business and potentially are targeting the wrong area. And most of my folks know a lot more now about who they serve than they knew when they set up the ad in the first place.
Ads got to
He's
change.
nodding.
Yeah, I'm nodding because as we evolve as practitioners of our businesses, like the ads, they have to keep up, they have to change, they have to have, let's say, a value proposition, maybe address pain points or frustrations that are appropriate for the kind of person and the kind of problem we currently solve. So that makes sense.
Yeah. So that's a place. The other thing you said is alignment to the offer. I want to talk more about that. What do you
Okay.
know?
What do I know? I know that people need help. And if somebody comes to me for free help because of a lead magnet, if that lead magnet isn't aligned with my actual offer, then of course they're not going to buy. Here's a example. I'm holding up my fingers. So 10 fingers, right? Let's say my main offer solves 10 well, it better not solve 10 problems. But let's say it does 10 things and it solves one problem. Follow me here, follow me here. That lead magnet probably should solve two of those problems, maybe just one. Okay. And then because that lead magnet happens to solve one or two problems that the main core offer solves, then we know already that just by somebody downloading the lead magnet, that they already can be served with the main offer, in this case, coaching. But what happens with that follow-up sequence too? Like we discussed this a
Mm-hmm.
little bit, and like we don't have to do a deep dive, but I'm thinking for that follow-up sequence after the lead magnet is delivered, an email at least like number two or three, am I letting somebody know how they can work with me? Because
Mm-hmm.
they came in for something for free, and everybody does that. Okay, but do they even know my business is open, so to speak? Or am I waiting until who knows when, 3 months later, when I'm launching my program or I'm opening the doors to my coaching service, and that's the first time they hear that they can get help from me, maybe they already got help from somewhere else. Because right now in 2025, Karin, we're speaking, we're communicating, engaging with like the most savvy online buyer of any age who has already probably been marketed to by tons of people since
Mm.
the latest online boom in 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It reminds me that my dad bought self-development tapes from Tony Robbins when I was a child in the 80s. So we've
Oh
come a
my
long
God.
way, right? But what I hear you saying is like there is a continuum of service, and the
Mm,
service starts the second somebody sees your ad and
mm,
they see there's a solution for me. So then they experience your freebie, and then that service continues through the nurture sequence. You're still the person who can help them. You have to sell them, which I
mhm.
think a lot of people shy away from selling. And
Oh,
I
for sure.
want to take this moment to make a plug for the fact that selling is helping. Like, I don't know that I can be better at that thing I want to be better at until you sell it to me. And that makes me happy. And then the continuum of like the continuation of everything they see and hear from you also aligns to your offer. This is making good sense. It reminds me of like everything reminds me of restaurants because I used to work in them.
Me
But
too.
when, right, when you come in, you have that experience in the front with the hostess. Maybe you have to sit there and wait for a while. Maybe you have a little bite from the chef, like
Mm.
all the way through the end of dinner. You notice if something is off. They have to do a really good job of bringing that whole line of care all the way through. Otherwise, you feel weird and you don't come back. So we're doing the same thing here.
I love that analogy that you just painted in my mind because it would be weird
Yeah.
if when you ordered something on the menu, I'm thinking higher end restaurant, it would be weird if they didn't come by your table, your waiter or waitress, and tell you what wines were paired well with your meal, you know?
Right. You'd be sitting there waiting for them to do it because it's the
Yeah,
norm. Yeah.
yeah,
And it
yeah.
would be really weird if they came by and tried to sell you a $2 like taco
Ooh,
in the middle
absolutely.
of your French farm to table meal.
Right.
Yeah.
That's very, 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 very appropriate for this conversation. So I feel like the listener might be wondering, okay, well, what about the emails? Then how am I selling without feeling bad? Because so many of us have been sold to the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
It's like unless we get proper training, we feel like any pitching is selling the wrong way, or we just have some internal stuff that makes us feel icky inside. When really selling is serving and done right, the person on the other end of the screen doesn't feel sold to. They feel empowered to get help.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it's our job to create an
Mm,
experience where selling actually is expected, normalized, and supportive. And we have to
mm,
show up that way.
mm.
All right. So that makes sense to me in terms of ads. It goes from
Let's,
the, go ahead.
oh, I was going to say, we could look at the top of the funnel, i.e., the ad itself. Um, I feel like there's one more thing in my heart that I wanted to share, which was after somebody gets the lead magnet, after you introduce yourself and how they can work with you, it's probably a good place to, and I'd love to hear like what you coach too, but it's probably a good spot to include some case studies. Um, and I love me a case study that
Mm-hmm.
also is aligned, meaning fingers again, if the lead magnet took care of like one issue that my coaching can take care of or my core offer, then those case studies, I can talk about Joe, who I helped with an issue, and then the call to action can be like, reader, if you're struggling with the same thing, this is what I was meant to do to help you with this. Done.
Yeah.
It's like I build my authority. They get to find themselves in the story of Joe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And envision themselves getting help. And if they resonate with that same sort of thing, then cool. Otherwise, the next email could be Jill, who I've also helped with a different thing. And both of these align with the offer. Like that's a good email sequence. What do you see right now with the folks that you are coaching?
In terms of what's working for email sequences,
Mhm.
I think having them, like what you're talking about, be relevant to the whole process.
Mm,
Like, I think anything we're doing where we take out the checkbox energy, where it's just like, I need a nurture sequence. It should be 3 to 7 emails. Check. Right. It's like if I were really going to do this and hold the hand of my ideal client and walk them from being a stranger to being either saying like, you know what, Caryn, I don't think you're the coach for me,
mm.
or oh my gosh, let's work together, this is going to be great. Like if we're courageous enough to let ourselves love them and hold their hand all the way to that decision point, I mean, I think you can put absolutely anything in there. You can break every marketing rule, but oftentimes the rules are rules for a good reason. Like case studies do work really well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Showing them, like giving them some social proof about who you are and that you're not just some rando on the internet who only existed for the last 30 days also really helps, right?
Mm.
It's nice to see that you have some longevity and people seem to like what you're up to. Um, but to me, it's just be willing to love people. That would be what I want to see in there.
More of that. More of that is good.
Mm-hmm.
Something completely just popped into my mind. So I'm gonna go ahead and confess right here. I was
Interesting.
doing this mistake for the longest. I had a lead magnet with a nurture sequence, and it took somebody from our mixer mind that we're both in, this mastermind, because I mean, does your audience know we've known each other for a year?
We've known each other for a year now.
We've known each other for a year now. And so they pointed out, QUÄY.jo, I feel like you don't sell in your emails. And then they went into a little
Oh
more
no.
detail, and I was like, huh, good point. After my nurture sequence, all I do is send out a weekly podcast email. Huh.
Right. And you never sell again. You never do a dedicated sales email to your list.
hmm So
Oh, good
so you're
find.
listening. We were talking before we hit record that like right now I came out with not came out, but sort of repositioned my courses that I offer and am now building email sales sequences that, at various like delayed, delayed somethings. After somebody gets onto my email list at various times in the future, they get these emails. And if they need like a certain course, okay, great, they can get it. I wasn't doing that before. I wasn't giving my email list a chance to buy from me. And so I've stopped doing that. And so if you're listening right now and you're building your email list, but then you're not emailing them, you're not alone. Even,
Mhm.
even I've made that mistake. Karen, maybe you've made that, or maybe you haven't made that mistake before.
I've been emailing, I swear, every week for like 15 years,
Mm, okay.
but I like to write.
You're probably better at it than me.
Maybe, who knows?
I think
But I
so.
love that you're owning it. Like, I think people have a lot of email shame, like, oh, I don't write enough. Oh, I'm not a good writer. Oh,
Mhm.
I never sell to my email list. Like, that's all normal. And it's your business and you're in charge. I love this. Yeah.
So apps. Are we attracting the right person? Because alignment does start, yes, with the lead magnet, but you want to make sure that you're attracting the right person to the lead magnet. And
Yep.
so that conversation then has to do with correct targeting, but then it also has to do with good ad copy. I like to think of very simple framework for writing ads called PESH, Pesh. I didn't have that acronym until I talked to Rob Marsh of the Copywriter Club, and then he put that acronym on my framework. But the
Nice.
P stands, yeah, it was a pretty cool conversation. The P stands for problem. The E is the next part of the ad, and that is the part where you emphasize either from personal experience or because of somebody you've coached who has also had said problem. And
Hmm.
then the S is the solution that you're either, if you're selling in the ad for a low ticket offer, that your offer provides or that your lead magnet provides. And the thing I love to add on the end is the H, hope, as in painting the picture of the desirable future. And so, problem, the empathy, the empathize part, the solution, and the hope. If you can really focus on getting the problem right,
Hmm.
that is where you're sure then that the right folks are attracted to your lead magnet.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, and what do you think about like micro problems or super specific niche stuff? Like maybe your niche is you help people meal plan so that they can lose weight even though they have children. Like,
Okay.
can you get super specific down to like the microest of micro niches for ads, or was that already specific enough?
I mean, that was super specific. I
Okay.
think I think I should go one step further and say that when I look at the P, the problem, rarely do I write about the problem, but I write about a frustration that stems from that problem.
Okay. Like a symptom.
A symptom. There you go. So the example that you just gave me, are we going to talk about meal planning even though we have kids? Or are we going to talk about in the problem section? Let's see.
You hate yourself for eating cold dino chunks over the sink left over on your kid's plate every night.
And I would say that's very good. Something else that I remember was that what happens when you need to meal plan for yourself, but then the kids don't want to eat what you're eating, or, you know, your spouse doesn't want to eat what you're eating. Now we've got a time drain and you have to double cook
Mm-hmm.
one regular thing for everyone else and one not regular, which why is it when we're like eating healthy like we should, everyone looks at us like we're alien? Like, what are you doing? What are you eating? It's like, this is how my body was made. It should want this food. Like, this is the
Yeah.
normal way. Anyway.
Yeah. So get to the problem of the problem. Because what
Mhm.
we know about everybody is you can Google how to do a meal plan,
Mhm.
but how do we do that nuanced life stuff? And how do we support our clients to figure that stuff out with what we're
Yeah.
sharing?
Yeah. Have they tried? Have they failed? Um, they can Google how to do a meal plan, but do they really just like lack the support? See, there's plenty of different frustrations that stem from the problem, right? But not all will resonate equally. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where, with ads toward your lead magnet, you can test very, very easily. I'm talking like take the same core ad copy, the empathy, the solution, and the hope part, but just play around with the hook, the
Right.
first one or two lines, and make sure that each of those has a or addresses a clearly a different frustration. Run that ad with like the same image or visual for like a handful of days, and you will have data measured by lowest cost per lead that's telling you which one of those resonates the most. And then you're on the way to
Hmm.
making sure that you're not just getting lower cost leads, but getting the highest quality client at the lowest cost possible.
Yeah. I like
Mm.
it. I like it that we don't have to change everything to get a better result. But hooks feel really important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're quite important.
Yeah. Okay. I have a question about like how do you, and maybe you don't have this with your clients, I'm not sure, but when they're like emotionally attached to the way something's working, even though it's not bringing in the result they actually want.
Oh, I might have to throw that one back at you. Um, I regularly work with clients that already have a well converting funnel.
Okay.
So I don't get that kind of pushback.
They're not hanging on for dear life to the thing they did.
Well, here's the thing. I'm on the other side of this problem, having looked at a bunch of businesses and worked with clients who have extremely well converting funnels already, and they're more like QUAY.jo. Can you add Facebook and Instagram ads fire or fuel to this fire that's already burning really hot?
Yeah.
But also back in the day, like 4 years ago when I started coaching. I used to coach inside of like a high
Yeah.
level mastermind slash coaching program. One thing that I noticed, which is probably like what you're preaching to your tribe, is that you kind of have to hold everything with an open hand. And if we're going to make an online business work, which I mean, we're pretty special. Like we're special unicorns. It doesn't seem weird now, but only like 7 or 6 years ago, like it still was weird to like be making money from home, doing the
Yeah.
thing you want, and not like commuting 30 or 40 minutes in a car to an office place. Like people would look at you weird. And so we
Yep.
want this life. One of the things is you really have to just let go of things that don't work, even if we love them, because ultimately if we're talking bigger scale, the market is saying they don't care.
Right. Exactly.
Right? And
Yeah.
like smaller scale, what's happening is we can't serve people because we're holding on to something that we believe should be, and they just really don't care about. It's not helping them.
Hmm. So it is about impact.
Mm,
And I do think we have to have a lot of courage in this business.
yeah.
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 And some money to explore doesn't help. Doesn't hurt.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of paying folks who know what they're doing better than I do
Yeah.
to accelerate my my accelerate my goals, accelerate how fast I'm approaching my goals.
Yeah. Can you tell us, just so everybody gets it, like at what point is somebody ready to hire somebody like you?
Mm. So this is a conversation that has to do with one, the profit that's in your business. Two, along with profit, like how well is your offer already selling? And then three, what do you like to be doing? Like what's very impactful for you as the owner of your business to grow your business? So I gave those three things, your organic selling offer, because no one should run Facebook and Instagram ads like if their offer isn't selling. You're like flashing your
I'm
hands.
putting out the beacons on this statement right here because it's
Yeah.
really important. It's not worthwhile to anyone to go try to sell something if they haven't proven that the thing they're trying to sell has some legs
Mm,
on its own, right?
mm.
Like we got to make the organic world work. And then you add, like you were saying earlier, you add gasoline to that fire. Yeah.
Yeah. It has to be like that. Otherwise, I just don't want you to lose money. Like it
Right.
never feels good. I've been there when I was running ads early on for my other business, teaching Chinese to expats, expatriates who are living in China and doing it the wrong way. And that feeling in your stomach when you're kind of just hoping and praying that your ads will work. And like, I am definitely a fan of praying. It's not a valid ad strategy though. But then you
Correct.
see your credit card spend and you're like, oh no, where is this money going to come from? It's because the offer wasn't proven yet. So
Right.
that's what I always tell people. Jesus saves. Facebook and Instagram ads do not.
Uh-huh.
More more eyes. More eyes on a bad offer does not a good business make. So yeah. Okay.
Right.
How do you know if you hire an ads manager or if you do it yourself? You have an organically selling offer for one. And then as your business is building up, you'll hit that point where we all do, where we become the bottleneck of our own business growth because we are still doing all the things like we had to when we first started. So, I mean, hats off to all of us.
Good job,
Literally,
us.
literally, but
Yeah.
literally, hats off. Because when we start our businesses, we wear all the hats. We do the
Yeah.
email marketing and we're also the video production manager person. And if we have a podcast, we're an audio producer. And what are the other things? We're our own executive assistant, right? Like
Yeah.
we're our own sales team.
Yeah.
Um,
We clean the office. We do it
we
all.
clean the office. We're PR if we're pitching ourselves to other we do all of the things with all the hats.
Yeah.
But as the business gets bigger, there are only certain hats that we can wear because they're the unique things that we can do to grow the business. I'm talking about strategizing a funnel,
Mhm.
making cool connections, right? Working on webinars or whatever we use to launch. Maybe it's a challenge, maybe it's a boot camp. And so you hit a point, usually Usually it's around like I feel like it's around $150,000, somewhere around there,
That
slightly
feels
lower,
accurate. Yeah.
um, in gross revenue, gross annual revenue, where it just doesn't make sense to manage your Facebook ads, specifically because you can hire somebody then, like I would say 1,500 is on the low end and like 2,500 is on the higher end, for that amount of revenue.
Hmm.
um, you can hire somebody to manage your Facebook ads. And if you're passionate about Facebook and Instagram ads, wonderful. At least they can do just as good as you can do or better. And I bet you're not as passionate about running ads as you are about serving people in the way that you first started serving people. And it's
Hmm.
you look at a launch, it's really clear. I've seen it in my clients. When you launch your program, or if you're just really busy delivering your program, you want to be able to show up with as close to 100% of you possible so you can be present. And it's really hard to do that as a successful business owner if you're also in part of your brain holding on to, okay, this ad's going to be tested next. And what do I do with this one? And I've got this budget. I have successful launches, but I have to make sure that in a 2 week period, I spend $7,000 of ad spend the right way. It's just an extra, let's call it baggage. It once was a really good thing to do it yourself, but once you start growing, it's really
Yeah.
not, you know.
Yeah. It's not the thing you want to
Mm,
waste your expertise on, right?
mm, Mhm.
Like hiring expertise is so delightful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what was that book? Oh, there was a book. I don't remember who said it. It's not a new book, but it was talking about how we have, no matter what we're doing or no matter how important the decisions are, we only have like a limited number of decisions that we can make in a day.
Right.
And like once
Yeah.
we hit that, we're kind of just done. Our
Yep.
brains are like, bah, you know?
Right. So where are you spending your big decision making? Is it on developing content and impactful stuff for your clients, or is it on
Mhm.
trying to figure out something that you could hire out? And that is like that's a good choice point. I think that 150K mark is a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the third thing? So you need an organically working offer. You want to
Oh,
have profitability, and then
wasn't that the third thing? Where your business is at?
maybe it was.
There's a bit of a nuance. Some people actually are, I should say, some businesses are ready to run ads way earlier than 150K revenue.
That's true.
Here's a measurement that I love. So I'm holding my hands in the air, right? One hand is kind of at my forehead level, the other one's at my chest level, and I'm trying to create like this vertical gap between my hands. And the top hand represents, let's call it revenue per lead. So if we're
Right.
launching in the context of launching, actually, you know what? Let's talk to coaches. Lots of coaches are doing discovery calls, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. How many discovery calls does it take for me to get a client? Give me a number, Karen.
Well, I'd say industry standard is 50% close rate. So talk to two people, get one person as a client. I'm about at 80%. Talk to 10 people, get eight clients.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. And so what I'm going to get at here is if I know, well, I do know, if I have a coaching service, I know how much I charge, right? And so I need to take, let's say, the revenue that I can make in a month, or let's call it whatever the first payment is for my coaching service.
Call it $1,000.
Call it $1,000, right? I start with that $1,000 and I want to work all the way back to a lead and decide how much is a lead worth. Because in Facebook and Instagram world, this is where we're going. Leads cost money, and I have to make sure that this equation is profitable for my business. There's a gap between the earnings per lead on the top and the cost per lead on the bottom. So it's not just I have a 50% close rate, so my leads are worth 500. Right?
Mm-hmm.
How many people do you have to talk to get one person on the phone? Give me another stat.
How many people, like, how much marketing do I have to do to get one person to sign up for a consult call?
Well, right. I might close half the people who I talk to, right? So if I close 10 people, I make 10 grand. Phenomenal. But how many people did I have? How many people had to schedule for me to talk to 10? Because not everybody shows up.
That depends. If you're running ads and it's cold traffic, yeah, so many people don't show up. I've heard of
Hmm.
like super high numbers. People have their calendars just wide open because
Yeah.
most people don't.
Okay. Let's just say it's 50% of the people we talk to show up. So I can close 50% of the folks. So if I made 10 sales, that means I talked to 20 people. But if only half of the people who said they would show up
40
actually
people.
showed up, then that's 40 people.
Right.
Okay, let's just keep it simple and stop there. So I'm going to take my $10,000 and I'm going to divide it with my handy dandy calculator right here by 40 people. And now I know that one lead is worth $250. This
Okay.
helps me out on many fronts. One, I can detach my personal value from rejections because I know it's just a numbers game because I did the math. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
just going to go talk to
Right.
people. And if they say no, that's okay. That person just paid me in a way because I know I have to get through a certain number of no's in order to get to the yeses. Track your no's, by the way, and
Yeah.
then you realize, oh, I just have to talk to this many people before I get a client. Easy. I'll just keep talking and adding value. Okay, cool. But more importantly, for the Facebook and Instagram ads conversation, now I know that a lead is worth $250. So when I turn on my ads with my well-researched ad copy and a cool visual to stop the scroll, I know then that if I'm acquiring a lead for, let's say, $50, I still have that gap of
Mhm.
$200 of profit because I know on average I'm going to make $200 per lead. And if that lead cost floats up to $75, maybe I can tolerate it. But would I love to get it down to say $10 a lead? Absolutely. And so
Right.
that's what I mean. Somebody might work through this equation, Karin, well before they get to 150K because they've nailed their messaging, their offer, their coaching service actually works. They figured out their marketing. It's just that they have a mini fire that's burning and they haven't poured a bunch of fuel on it yet. But if they run the numbers, like you and I just kind of ran through, they could have a very favorable equation, and maybe it was going to take them 1 year, 1 year is even quick, 2 years, 3 years to get
Mhm.
to, the mythical, super idolized six-figure
Mhm.
income when they could be there a lot sooner. So you don't always have to wait until you hit that point before you hire an ads manager or do ads yourself even, but you got to run the
Yeah.
numbers.
Yeah, and the numbers matter because
Mm.
like I've had people come in who have been super quote unquote successful bringing clients in, but then never actually turning a profit because all their money was going back into ads, which is not the point, right?
Oh, yeah. No,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can't do that. You need to make sure the numbers really
Work
do
for
work
you.
out.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Is there a last nugget you would give coaches around all this stuff?
All right, so we've run the numbers. I'm a coach. I've listened to this episode. I'm already running the numbers mentally. Okay. I've also thought about decent hooks and ad copy and making sure that the lead magnet does align with my coaching offer. The last advice that I would give is when we run ads, we need to come prepared because I heard you sharing, Karin, that some folks, not anybody listening right now, other folks, have one ad that they've been running for a long time. If it's just one ad visual and just one piece of ad copy, there's usually tons of revenue being left on the table because the work that I'm talking about is testing different pieces of ad copy, testing different ad visuals, and arriving at a combination or combinations of ads that still bring in great quality leads at a much lower lead cost. And so the last nugget is this quote by Thomas Edison, which is, "We miss out on opportunity because it's dressed up in overalls and it looks like work." I don't want you to miss out on the opportunity to serve more people, help more people like with a transformation in their life that you're like uniquely skilled to give or guide, and then also miss out on like business growth and the other benefits that come from like, a blessing to yourself, to your family, to the causes that you stand for and believe in. We don't want to miss out on any of that because we're
Mm-hmm.
not willing to do the work of testing our ads with different ad copy, different visuals. That's what I'll leave you and the listener with.
I think you just gave me my new favorite quote.
Hey, all right.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think it's true in all the different arenas in business, right? We do have to show up and do the work and come at it with that wholehearted curiosity to get the outcomes that we can for the
Mm,
people we're here to serve. Yeah, I'm in.
sweet. All right.
All right.
Cool.
So, where can people get some of these courses that you've been releasing lately?
Let's start with the one that has to do with the little last nugget that I just dropped, which is it's called the Ad Testing Cheat Code. Wonderful name, huh? And it's a $17 course, and it's just my framework of taking the various ad components and like the way that I do for all of my clients, testing them so you can lower your lead cost. Some of my students have lowered their lead costs up to like 60%.
Wow.
Some only like 20%. The
But still.
point is, yeah, I mean, why not spend the same amount of ad money, but increase the number of leads or
Mm-hmm.
double the number of leads? And so, yeah, you can get that in the description below, in the show notes below, but that will help you. And it's just $17. It's like chump change, pocket
A little
change.
bit of a no-brainer, as they say.
It's a little bit of a no-brainer. It's like, no, I
Yeah.
don't have $17. Yes, we do have $17. We just
Yeah.
have to not go to McDonald's. Does anybody go to McDonald's anymore?
It still exists, so they have to be there.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for this exploration and
Mhm.
for honing it into coaches and for giving us the PESH framework.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome.
I think that can help anybody's marketing, not just for Facebook ads, folks. That could be helpful anywhere.
True.
Yeah. So if you're running ads, get in there and get that cheat code.
There we
All right.
go.
Yeah. Thanks for being here. I appreciate the exploration.
I love these conversations. It's been an honor. Thanks, Karen.
Thank you.